Will you join me as we wind up the Amphora Annals' second sojourn to the land of the Pharaohs? You can see us here now on the beautiful Nile in Thebes, or modern day Luxor. Today we're going to chat about pottery that we've come across with a friend of ours, Steve Kirkham, who's an owner of a pottery in Stoke-on-Trent in England, and he'll explain the finer points about pottery to us.
Turning by hand, yeah. And that's just the same as 3, 4, 5,000 years ago. No different, except just the spinning will be different. There's two methods. This is more productive than making a pot or an amphora out of a roll of clay, which these guys over here are cutting the clay up, ready for it to be made on the turning wheel. But how you make an amphora, you'd be rolling the clay and making bands and bands of around the amphora, if that makes sense. And then finishing it by scraping the outside. If you have a look at this, this is just beautiful. Very, very nice, very, very clean. These are just wet, they're just drying out. And as you can see, there's a very slight difference between each one. Ever so slight. Even when you're making it with a machine, you get a slight difference. So once you've fired that, which is downstairs, you wait for it to dry to take all the water out of it. Once you've taken the water out of it, then you can fire it. If you didn't let the water come out of it, it'd just explode. Right. These, when you make these, you make it in two halves, yeah? So the inside, right. So the inside is not smooth. That's smooth.
Yes.
I don't see it. So what I do, if you have a look, and then you put all the pots there. Yeah?
There's some pottery.
Yeah. See, you look here, I've taken photographs of all this. This is all chaff. So it's all broken pots, no good. Yeah? So all that is it, what I would call a fresh tin.
I don't know how old that is.
That? Well, at least 2,000 years old, mate.
Steve! Alan! Good to see you. Sit down, mate, sit down. Sit down. I've just been trying to explain about Flinders Petrie and how important pottery is to Egyptology, in fact any form of archaeology. It's gone past me. I've been doing archaeology 50 years. Pottery is such a specialised subject. So what I'd like you to do is, you've been with us a week now,
yep,
is to explain a bit of the things you've picked up and how they were manufactured. If you could do that for me, I'd be very grateful.
Right, okay, so from my deductions, everything has been made by hand, obviously, but to make things easier, sort of the smaller vessels that were made for eating out of and storing maybe oil or eating cereals, that type of thing, or eating food out of, those sort of vessels I would suggest would have been made on a potter's wheel.
Right.
So basically you put a lump of clay onto a wheel, and then, as you've seen it in many a program on YouTube or whatever, they to be formed with the hands, and the sides would be raised up and then shaped in all different sort of different ways. So that's one way of making it, and then you take that particular pot off, let it dry. You'd have to make sure it dried completely before you fired it.
Ah, right.
Right, yeah. So you don't want any...
How long would that be, Steve? How long would it take roughly to dry a pot before you fire it?
You would suggest 24 hours.
Right.
Because the pieces that we have here are very thick. So to get all of the water out of that, I mean, in conditions in Egypt, obviously things dry very, very quickly because it's very, very hot. But you don't want any water in there, because if you have water retention, then the pot will just explode, basically.
Ah, of course, yeah.
In the firing. You then put the pot into a kiln, and I would suggest you'd fire it to around about 1100 degrees centigrade. Now, how somebody in ancient Egyptian times figured out what 1100 degrees centigrade looked like must have been quite a
trial and error.
Skill.
Trial and error.
Trial and error, but quite a skill.
Yeah.
You know, they'd use an updraft kiln, so you put all of the logs or charcoal, charcoal underneath, and get the kiln to warm up. You place the pots as closely as possible in the kiln to get a good fill, but also to retain the heat. You don't want any heat disappearing.
Got it. Yeah.
So around about 500-600 degrees centigrade, which is round about sort of a dull red colour, the pots would then start to be fused together. But what they wouldn't be would be vitreous. Now, what I mean by vitreous is a pot that does not absorb water to a lesser or greater degree. How I know something is vitreous with the manufacturing that I do back in Stoke-on-Trent is I just stick my tongue on the pot and have a look at how the water is absorbed into the pot, basically.
That's a 3,500-year-old pot he's just stuck his tongue on. So well done, Kirky.
Yeah. So.
Ready? Yeah. So, Steve, what do we have here?
Well, I noticed yesterday that there was a pottery, would you believe, or a pottery manufacturing site, and these pieces here is what I've picked up in just a very short period of time, just to have a look at the manufacturing methods. I mean, this here, I would suggest, would be the bottom of an amphora, or
Yeah, I've got that.
or some sort of vessel.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's been broken off.
Yeah.
These pieces here are some sort of container or vessel. These and this, they've got a nice smooth side.
Cooking pot?
Maybe cooking pot,
yeah.
maybe. Or just for eating out, or a storage pot.
Yeah.
They are quite, they're not vitreous, but they don't absorb a lot of water.
Right.
And obviously, we have a handle.
Yes, a handle. Oh, yeah.
Which has been formed by hand.
Yeah.
Now, how that's been formed is somebody's just rolled the clay up in between their hands and rolled it on a flat surface, and then just formed the handle. And then they've stuck it onto the side of the cup.
That's right.
Like that. So they've used a little bit of clay, liquid clay,
to actually
adhere it
to
that.
Good.
Just like that.
Right. Well, Steve, Thank you. I mean, I've learnt more about pottery there. I mean, all the years I've been involved with pottery, and it's beyond me. It's a specialist subject, and it's nice to have a specialist with me. Thanks, mate, for your time, and hope you enjoy the rest of your holiday.
It's been very
Ciao.
interesting.